Hey, RetconRaider here. Before we get started, I'd just like to thank the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. With special thanks to Anerdinwarpaint, Antonio Hernandez, Matthew Holmquist, Nathan Welch Jr., and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Wasteland 3, as we conclude our business at Ranger HQ and head back out into the wild. I actually think we're about halfway through the main campaign at this point. The large bulk of the early game progress occurs in Colorado Springs, and we're just about done here, aside from the secret bunker out in the park. You may also notice that I have indeed gone ahead and swapped out Jody for Scotchmo. I mean, we've already got mimes and clowns and a guy who keeps lighting himself on fire, so why not add a hobo to the mix? We are professionals. That said, I have done my best to give him as many advantages as possible. His stat spread's definitely not great, but I've done what I can to shore it up, mostly aiming towards using a lot of the new gear we've recently been acquiring, including the tactical shotgun, the shock mace, the full set of tank armor. So that should hopefully make him a bit more viable in the field. I've also, of course, given him Animal Whisperer because we can't just leave Gun Bunny behind. Seriously, she is basically a veteran ranger at this point, at least compared to the bulk of Team November, who, I will remind you, are currently in pieces at the bottom of a frozen lake. So, welcome aboard, Scotchmo. Try not to die. Moving on. Let's do a quick scan for new exhibits. A card propped on this fancy chair reads, "The Throne of Flab the Inhaler." Recovered from the bazaar after Team November deposed the monster army. That doesn't sound right. I will definitely need to look into that. There's a plaque next to this garish statue. A statue of the Payaso Rojo, recovered from the bazaar. Yeah, so it looks like, for some reason, the gallery has reflected both of the potential resolutions for the monster versus Payaso situation, which is somewhat disconcerting. Let's have a quick chat with Quan.
What can I do for y'all?
What's your honest opinion of the Marshals?
Ha! You trying to get me in trouble with Daisy? The Marshals are great. The best. Okay, that's... Well, we're fine. They're fine. But if they were perfect, the Patriarch wouldn't have called you, right?
Sounds about right.
The problem with the Marshals is, we don't work for the people of Colorado Springs. We work for the Patriarch. And that means we're more enforcers than police, which can lead to a certain, smugness among some of the troops. They know they're untouchable. They know citizen complaints aren't going to be listened to, mostly. So they think they can do whatever they want. And they do. So... they're not loved, the Marshals. Not trusted either.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you put it that way, I can certainly understand why. You're essentially describing them as mercenaries working to prop up the Patriarch's rule, as opposed to an actual law enforcement group, despite the fact that they call themselves marshals. So, the marshals can do whatever they want. Did you?
Hey, you'd have to be a saint not to take advantage once in a while, and I'm no saint. I'll take a bribe here and there, if offered. But I'm not a shakedown artist like some guys are. I never put the boots to somebody who didn't deserve it. I figure, if it's against the rules, but it ain't hurting nobody, why report it? As long as I get a cut, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, but okay. What do you think of the political situation in Colorado?
I try not to. Seriously, it's above my pay grade. There's a crisis coming for sure. The old man's on his last legs. His kids are a nightmare, and nobody else around here has the power and smarts to pick up the reins when he drops them. I'm just glad it's not my job to think about it. My job is to do what the Patriarch says until he dies, then do what Daisy says after that. Hopefully neither of those things involves hurting too many people along the way, but if it does, well, that's my job.
Yeah, just following orders. That is, reassuring? Any advice for us going forward?
Remember who you're working for, and remember what it means if you fail him.
That almost sounds like a threat. Hey, as the Marshal's unofficial liaison to the Rangers, what's your opinion of us? How are we doing?
Daisy's warming up to you. You're staying out of trouble and not pissing off the wrong people, and that's just how she likes it. Status quo.
You know, Quan is a bit of a conundrum. He seems like a halfway decent guy, even though he is also part of what he openly describes as an inherently corrupt mercenary organization. Gideon?
It's great to be here, Rangers. I love what you've done with the place. Now, what can I do for you?
How are you settling in?
Wonderfully. Thank you for asking. Your staff is so accommodating.
Could you give us your thoughts on some of the factions we're dealing with?
I'm honored that you value my opinion. Go on.
Well, what can you tell us about the Gippers?
They are fools. But unfortunately, because they own Colorado's only oil fields, we have to suffer with them. They worship a dead president as a god and walk around talking and acting like they were cowboys out of a child's picture book of the Old West. Ridiculous people. Saul should have dealt with them years ago.
And what can you tell us about the 100 families?
Despite the Patriarch's belief that he built Colorado on his own, he couldn't have done it without the support of the 100 families. He protects us, true, but without our money, he'd be protecting us with sticks and stones, not tanks and guns. We are the money and the power here, and the keepers of the values of our survivalist forebears. Strong alone, but stronger together, like the mountains. Anyone who intends to rule here would have to appease the families first.
I see. What can you tell us about the refugees?
A regrettable byproduct of difficult times. I wish them well, but I'd advise you not to waste resources on them. They come and go and won't be able to assist with your ambitions.
You're all heart, Gideon. You know, you almost had me convinced you were a halfway decent guy. And the Marshals?
The Marshals are our police force here in Colorado Springs, but let's say their focus isn't so much on solving crime as deterring it. Most problems are dealt with using the gun and the boot, rarely the head. They're also known to look the other way if enough money changes hands. Therefore, this is a town where help from the marshals is for those who can pay for it. Those who can't, fear them.
So the term police might actually be a misnomer. Much as Quan told us, they are basically just glorified mercenaries. Fairly murderous ones, too, from what we've seen. In a lot of ways, you could probably compare them to the Diamondback Militia, or a more competent version of the Red Scorpions from Wasteland 2. As for the 100 families, they're a bit more middle of the road. I mean, based on our interactions with Gideon and what we've seen in Broadmoor Heights, they're definitely very self-obsessed, and they don't have much in the way of concern for the common citizenry of Colorado Springs. But they're not actively hurting anyone. They are definitely contributing to the overall decay of Colorado Springs and the Colorado Territory as a whole, but it's more through passive neglect, I suppose, as reflected with Gideon's fairly casual dismissal of the plight of the refugees.
Certainly.
Why don't you tell us your opinion of the local big shots?
Who are you interested in?
Let's start with the Patriarch.
He is everything you have ever been told about him and more. A man who built a state with nothing but his bare hands and brute will. Even in his current state, he is dangerous. Indeed, I'd argue he's more dangerous now than he was in his youth. A man who is terrified of losing his place in the world will do anything to keep it. Anything. I loved him once. Worshipped him. Now I just fear him. Fear what he could do to Colorado if he continues to unravel. Who else are you interested in?
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I mean, based on what we've seen, it does sound like the Patriarch has built Colorado Springs on a legacy of violence, overthrowing groups, killing leaders, and granted, while those are mostly people who do appear to have earned it, he's pushing 80 now with possible health problems, and all three of his heirs have turned on him. So, I could definitely see him making some pretty desperate decisions to try to hold everything together. Tell me about Victory.
Stay away from him if you can. Victory Buchanan isn't sane. He's a spoiled, homicidal brat who needs to be put down like a rabid dog. Forgive me, I shouldn't have. Just be careful, that's all I'm saying. People who spend too much time in Victory's presence don't live long. Who else are you interested in?
Okay, tell me about Valor.
I've always felt a bit sorry for Valor. Book smart and quiet in a family where neither of those things were valued. But he grew up a peevish young man, always alert to slights, whether real or imagined. He ended up believing he was better than everyone else because he was misunderstood. That's why he stays with the Gippers, I think. They understand him. Or at least pretend to. Who else are you interested in?
What about Liberty?
She was a terrifying little girl and grew up to be a terrifying woman. I have never known anyone so able to focus or so certain of their path. She believes she is destined to rule Colorado and will not stop until she succeeds. But if she succeeds, woe to us all. Colorado will become a war machine, and all us citizens merely fuel for its ever-grinding engines. Who else are you interested in?
Sheriff Daisy?
I would say Sheriff Daisy's a woman to be admired and feared. She might be the face of the law in Colorado Springs, but she isn't above breaking the rules. To put it more bluntly, she's had more people killed than many of the local gangs. I'd be very careful not to cross her if I were you.
Yeah, that I would believe. For every Quan, there's a Lupinski in their ranks.
Who else are you interested in?
Any thoughts on the late, great Farron Brygo?
I wish that man had never come here. His legitimate business is the Little Vegas, a casino and brothel downtown. But he also runs a criminal empire, selling drugs, weapons, and information to anyone who can pay, including our enemies.
Well, not anymore he doesn't.
I think the Patriarch allowed him to stay because he thought the people needed entertainment. But the Little Vegas hardly qualifies. It's a lurid pit of lost wages and despair. Disgusting. As for the man himself, he wears all the trappings of class. Fine suits, shoes, jewelry. But he's a thug at heart, no matter how hard he tries to hide it. Who else are you interested in?
I think that's about enough of that. Thank you.
Safe travels, Rangers. Good job finding an appropriate place for the refugees. But what happens when more come?
Gosh, I don't know, Gideon. Maybe I'll try to help them too.
Now, what can I do for you?
We'd like to ask your advice on, political matters.
That's what I'm here for. How can I help?
Oh boy, we've got a bunch of loaded options to ask about. And at least one outdated one. It might be a mistake even bringing this up, but he did recommend asking him about it at a later time. What would we need to do to remove the Patriarch without bloodshed or chaos in the streets?
Sadly, I don't think a peaceful transition is possible anymore, Rangers.
Oh, well, okay then. I guess that's that. I was actually afraid of this. Because we didn't hand over those early prisoners to the marshals to be executed, we have not garnered enough reputation with them to actually earn their backing if we decide to make a power play. And while I can definitely understand that to a certain extent, it does seem very strange that the majority of your formative interactions with the marshals all take place during that first third of the game. Mind you, you can't actually even recruit Gideon until after you've already done most of that stuff, in which case, as in this case, his political advice is basically useless because he immediately shut us down. There is literally nothing we can do now to change our standing with the marshals, at least not for the better. That feels like very awkward pacing. I can't help but wonder if some of those other cut locations were intended to give us more opportunities throughout the campaign to actually influence these different factions.
Putting the refugees in the brig was a good compromise. They've got nothing to complain about. Now, what can I do for you? That's what I'm here for. How can I help?
Now, hear me out here. If it was impossible to depose the Patriarch peacefully, would you still support a transfer of power?
You mean a transfer of power to you? Storming the palace and fighting the marshals, confronting old Saul in his throne room, because that is what it would come to. I suppose it might be possible to give Colorado the future I've been dreaming for her in that scenario, but it wouldn't be certain. It wouldn't even be likely, so I'm afraid I'd have to say no. I would not support you. Thus, if you want me to remain here and to continue giving you advice, I would advise you not to tell me if that is the course you are intending to follow.
Fair enough. Figured it was worth at least asking.
Certainly. Safe travels, Rangers.
Thank you, Gideon. You have been, no help. Have a nice day.
Those chickens are weird.
Maybe you're weird, okay? Now, mind you, I am not necessarily going to try to depose the Patriarch. I'm just exploring our options here. He's definitely not perfect,
Man,
but
I just banged the dents out of this piece of shit 2 days ago, and now they bring it back with all new ones.
That's the job, Will.
Steady work.
Hey, we get paid the same no matter how many heaps we fix, right? So maybe if they were a little easier on the hardware, we could take a break now and then.
okay, let's hit the road, November. But, you know, gently. All right, so
Heed the words of the prophet, brothers and sisters. Make your kites strong, so the offerings they bear will reach the heavens above. Take you the supple skin of the sacrifice, carve it in a single piece from belly and back, and stretch it upon a rack of metal or wood. Scrape the skin clean and anoint it with sacred oils. Then leave it under the blessed sky for 7 days and nights. Take the long bones of leg and arm and lash the torso onto the kite. Thus will the workings of the flesh bear your gift aloft into the presence of the gods.
wow, that might be the most horrific thing we've heard so far. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Okay, so we have 3 scheduled stops on this outing. We've got the Get Family Farmstead, which should be a pretty straightforward fight. We've got the Monster Bazaar, where we have to take care of Charlie. And then we've got the Monster Bunker, which is a bit more of a mystery. After that, we'll start prepping for Denver. Let's get to it. You find a steel crate. It's locked. Gosh, is it? Whoa, jackpot. I feel like that's a pretty generous usage of the word jackpot, but it is free cash, so, you know, we'll take it. They really need to improve that loot display. Get Family Homestead. An isolated family homestead. It is eerily quiet.
Any luck, Rangers? Can't thank you enough for looking out for my family.
Happy to do it, Randy. We are here to help.
This man's been torn apart. Oh, look. Wolverine tracks.
Yeah, the actual giant wolverines were a big clue, too. Thank you, Miss Wesson. Not a great start, but I think we're okay. Yeah, it's a bit more like it. Let's give these guys something to focus on. Looks like the dynamite does not stack. That's good to know. Scotchmo deployed. Wow, not too shabby. Nice to finally get some use out of these shotgun shells, too. Let's go ahead and hit these guys with a quick debuff. Guess it'll have to be the flamethrower. Nice. Whoa! What in the world was that?
We did it!
Jeez, I think Polly almost tore himself to pieces, flying right into those giant quills. That does not bode well.
You're a lifesaver.
Oh, let's check this enclosure here. Oh, hold up. Okay, stop, stop. Ooh, free mountain goat. But we've already got one. Might as well crack that door, though. Oh, that's not good. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's check in here first. You know what? I'm actually kind of happy I didn't try recruiting that thing. Judging from the way this body is dressed, this appears to be a bandit from the plains. He must have been one of the kidnappers. This corpse is in a better state than most around it. It does not have quite as many hunks of flesh missing. Unlike the others, the fingers on the left hand of this body are fully intact. That seems like a very strange thing for them to single out. But sure. No sign of any captives, though. Spitfire. More of a flame rifle than a thrower, it uses individual gobs of flame to melt foes down. Interesting. Cloak and Dagger ROM. This looks like a regular video game cartridge, but the label has been partially peeled away, revealing another label that reads, Top Secret Military Intel. Nice. Now, if memory serves, the Spitfire was one of the 3 social stretch goals from the original FIG campaign, along with the Emancipator and, I think some sort of melee weapon. I'd have to go back and double check that, though. It does appear to count as a flamethrower, and it is tier 5. But our Scourer is a more conventional flamethrower, which fires in a cone-like template, whereas the Spitfire is more akin to an assault rifle, firing bursts of 4 with lower damage per shot, but a higher equivalent chance to ignite a target. The main downside, of course, is that it is a single target weapon and it'll burn through ammo 4 times as quickly. So, honestly, given that flamethrower fuel is somewhat uncommon, I think we'll just stick with the Scourer. It is a shame. The stretch goal weapons are generally pretty interesting, but they're just not very practical. Oh, nice. Now that is how you start a fight. The first thing we're going to do here is bottle these things up on the bridge. We've got a great choke point. Might as well take advantage of it. Oh, let's go ahead and use Demoralize. I've got to remember we can actually do that now.
Get out of here!
And now the second thing we need to do is block off this side of the bridge. As we saw with Polly in that first fight, we don't want our pets getting anywhere near these things. Okay, I think we're in pretty good shape here.
Here we go!
Oh, yeah. That worked out even better than I thought it would. Rhett?
Funny. You're laughing.
Very nice. I think that went just about as smoothly as you could expect it to. Though, we might be overdue to boost some of our combat skills. Get those accuracy ratings up. Oh dear. Oh dear. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to guess what's going on in there. This young girl is covered in dirt and blood, sitting beside a partially eaten body. She is loudly munching on what appears to be a human liver. As you approach, she turns to look at you, giving you the 1,000-yard stare of a crazed mind.
Who are you? You're not my family. You go away now. I'm sorting through dreams for my brother. Unless you have some more candies?
Dreams for your brother?
Root beer flavored dreams for my brother. He's real nice. Randy. He always said we'd build us a place one day. Me, Mommy, Daddy, and him. We'll all live up in the blue sky together. He has to come back first, though. Do you want some of these? They're my very last ones. The gummies say it's okay to chew on them. It's respectful. And they taste so sweet.
Nita offers a few well-gnawed fingers. No. Thank you.
Oh well, it's okay. More candies for Nita.
She stuffs one digit in her mouth and bites down hard, with a sickly crunching sound. She grins up at you happily, teeth bloodied. What the hell happened here?
Bad men came from the flatlands. Mommy and Daddy left. Then the doggies came for the candy and Mommy and Daddy, and the bad men are gone, but there's lots of candy.
Cool. Can you come with us?
No. Mommy said never trust a stranger. Daddy said never take candy from a stranger, but that isn't fair. I want candy!
Yeah, that's not happening. No more candy.
If you bring me some candies, then I will be your friend. There were some candies in the other house, but they're scary doggies. I know. You go get the candies, and I'll stay here.
No, you're coming with us. Now.
Don't shout at me! I'll come! You won't melt like Mommy and Daddy, right? I didn't like it. Except for the jump ropes they made me. That was okay. I like those. Can I bring them?
She points at a tangle of rotting intestines. The gray-black flesh, stinking of bile. You know what? I'm gonna go with no.
Okay. I don't know why you're so mean to me, but okay. Just don't hurt me.
I wasn't planning to. Wow, so this is a nightmare. This must be Randy Get's younger brother. The facial resemblance is strong. The exit wound on his chest appears several days old, but the bite marks on his arms seem fresh. Fantastic. Ah, and that must be the key to the room we already broke into. Well, at least now we know why they went out of their way to tell us that one bandit still had fingers. Well, alright, let's go let Randy know the unfortunate news, and then I think we're gonna have to call it. Hey, buddy. I'm just gonna leave you here to eat all these corpses, okay? You have fun.
Nita, is that you?
Poor Randy. It's her, but maybe not all of her.
I don't know how to thank you, Rangers. My little sister, safe and sound and all in one piece, but... Wait. What about everyone else?
I'm thinking this might be one of those cases where telling the whole truth isn't really going to help things. Yeah, let's kind of dance around the specifics here. This poor gal needs help, but she's not going to get it if Randy just ends up hating her. I'm sorry, Randy. They didn't make it.
Oh, hell. I was afraid you were going to say that. But at least you saved Nita. I am grateful for that. Come on, sis. You're safe now. You're okay. Let's get you somewhere warm, yeah? Thank you again, Rangers. Once I get her settled in, I'll come over to your base. Don't know if you still need a mechanic, but, well, it's the least I can do.
Cool.
Randy?
Can't believe you brought Nita back to me, Rangers. Hey, say thanks, Nita.
My brother's dreams are sorted. Got any candy?
I'm sure she meant thanks. See you at base, Rangers.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Can't believe you brought Nita back to me, Rangers. Hey, say thanks, Nita.
My brother's dreams are sorted. Got any candy?
I'm sure she meant thanks. See you at base, Rangers.
Gotta say, this is a pretty messed up scenario. Man, and here I was riding high, too, after we took out those slavers and saved Hallie and helped those refugees in the bazaar. Well, I think this is just about as good a time as any to hit that pause button. I could use a bit of a breather, I think. So, yeah, we'll pause for now, but pick up here next time as we continue on our way towards the bazaar for some, hopefully slightly more uplifting adventures. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Wasteland 3, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube and Twitch channels, the official social media feeds, or the official store pages. As always, links are in the description.
More candies for Nita.